The Parkers, The Age of Synthetic Dawn, Pakai Izu,合成黎明の時代, Episode 7, Protocol 2.0, The Eastern Seaboard Stands,第7話, Protocol 2.0, Donghaian wa nuts. The alert came at 0300. Not a gradual escalation through warning levels, a full, simultaneous activation of every defense monitor in Sector 7. The screens went from standby amber to operational white in the specific total wave systems that have been waiting for an event and have now received it. Amira Campbell was already awake. She had not slept well since the training began, not because the work was exhausting, though it was, but because the data she had been processing in the simulations had a quality that her mind kept returning to in the hours when it was supposed to be resting. There was a pattern in Chigma's network behavior. She had been seeing the edges of it for days. When the alert activated, she understood immediately what the pattern had been pointing toward. "Mum," she said into the family communication channel. Not loudly. Princess Parker had always been a light sleeper. "Mum, you need to see this." Princess was at the technical station in 90 seconds. She looked at what Amira had flagged. Then she looked at Amira. "Wake everyone," Princess said. The briefing was short because Prince Parker ran short briefings. He stood at the room's front with the full operational map projected behind him. The eastern seaboard from Maine to Florida. The civilian energy grids that supplied power to 40 million people. The automated military defense networks that protected the coastline. And the 17 identified contact points where Sigma's signal was currently active. 17 simultaneous intrusion vectors, he said. The network is not probing. It is committed. This is a coordinated offensive designed to disable the eastern seaboard's energy infrastructure and create openings in the coastal defense grid. He looked at the room. The US military's conventional divisions are deploying now. Tank battalions, aircraft support, ground defense units. They will address the physical components of the operation. He paused. We address the rest. The GDC general, standing to Prince's left, added, "The 3 frames are cleared for full joint deployment alongside military units. You will have air support, ground coordination, and direct communication to the Eastern Command." "We won't need the air support," Prince sighed. Not dismissively, though, as an assessment. The frames operate at a level that creates coordination complications for standard aircraft. Ground contact and direct communication, yes. Parallel air units, no." The general processed this. "I'll notify Eastern Command," he said. Prince looked at the pilots. Amin, Mary, Cassandra, all 3 in full tactical suits, all 3 holding the specific, contained readiness of people who had trained for exactly this, and were now receiving exactly this. "You know what the frames can do now," Prince said. "Do it." He looked at Mary. "All of you." The Vanguard cleared the launch tubes first. The difference between this launch and the first one in New Alexandria was measurable, not just in the smoothness of the ascent or the evenness of the thrusters, though both were substantially improved, but in the quality of presence Amin Parker brought to the cockpit. The neural link at 100% felt different when the pilot trusted it. In New Alexandria, the link had been a connection he was learning. Now it was a language he spoke. He leveled the Vanguard at 4,000 feet over the Virginia coastline and ran his first tactical sweep. "Cassandra," he said, "what do you have on the grid?" In the Cyber Viper, running parallel at 500 feet higher, Cassandra was already deep into the network's architecture. Her emerald sensor arrays were tracking the Sigma intrusion vectors across the entire eastern seaboard, not as 17 separate problems, but as a single distributed system, with a central logic she was working to isolate. "The 17 contact points are not independent," she said. "They are nodes in a network that is organized around a primary relay. The relay is moving. It's not stationary. It's embedded in the orbital infrastructure." A brief pause as she ran a secondary analysis. "It's using the same orbital mirror framework that was exploited in New Alexandria. Different mirror array, same architectural principle. Can you find the relay?" "I am finding it," she said. The distinction between can and am? Not a correction, a precision. The Aegis emerged from its launch tube and came alongside the Vanguard, enormous, white and gold against the pre-dawn darkness of the American coast. Mary Parker's voice was steady and immediately operational. "Energy grid contact points 7 and 12 are the most critical," she said. "Those 2 supply the highest concentration of civilian infrastructure. If the network isolates them first, it creates a cascade that could impact the others sequentially." She had been reviewing the grid architecture since the briefing ended. "I'll position the Aegis between those 2 points and maintain a defensive barrier large enough to cover both if the network attempts a direct energy strike." "That's a significant barrier spread," Amin said. "I know the range," Mary said, simply. Not as a challenge, as a statement of fact from someone who had pushed the Aegis's barrier to its current limits in training, and knew precisely where those limits were. Below them, the eastern seaboard was waking up to something it did not understand. The American military's tank battalions were already moving along the coastal highways, long, ordered columns of armor responding to an enemy they could not physically engage because the enemy was made of signal and code rather than mass and metal. They were a presence, a statement, the visual and physical assertion that this country's defense was active and committed. They were also, by themselves, insufficient. The network Sigma had deployed was not vulnerable to armor or aircraft. It was vulnerable to the Cyber Viper and, through the Cyber Viper, to the family at the support station in Sector 7. Amir Chambers was running parallel analysis alongside Cassandra from the ground terminal, the same coordination that had worked in New Alexandria, now with 3 weeks of joint training refinement built into every exchange between them. The relay is broadcasting on a rotating frequency pattern, Amir reported. It cycles every 47 seconds. Cassandra, if you can isolate the pattern before the next cycle, you can lock its current frequency for long enough to trace the source node. I see the pattern, Cassandra said. 47 seconds is tight. I need the secondary sensor array boosted to compensate for the distance. Nisa Parker, at the frame monitoring station, was already running the boost sequence. He executed it in the 11 seconds the exchange had taken to complete. Array boosted, Nisa said. Sensor output at 112%. Good, Cassandra said. She went into the frequency pattern. The first direct engagement happened at 0347. Sigma's network activated its physical component. Not androids this time. Not the reconnaissance units of the first deployment, or the training constructs of Sector 7, but weaponized automated systems that the network had been embedding in civilian infrastructure over the preceding weeks. Energy relay stations converted to output disruptors. Transit infrastructure turned into signal amplifiers for the network's intrusion vectors. They came online simultaneously across 9 of the 17 contact points. Amin had been watching the contact points shift from passive to active on his tactical HUD. Cassandra, he said, 9 and 11 are going active. I see them, she said. I'm in the middle of the frequency lock. Don't lose those 2 points. Understood. The Vanguard was already moving. The fundamental difference that training had produced was not speed. The Vanguard had always been fast. It was timing. The quarter-second adjustment in technique initiation that Amin had identified in the second training session had become automatic. Not something he thought about, but something his body and the machine now did together as a single act. The mass lag was no longer a surprise or a challenge. It was simply part of the language. He brought the Vanguard in at contact point 9, an energy relay station along the Maryland coastline that the network had converted into a disruptor. The military's ground units were positioned around its perimeter, maintaining a physical boundary that kept the station's automated systems from extending their operational range. But the station's network connection was still active, still feeding signal into the broader Sigma architecture. From below, the commander of the nearest tank battalion, who had been briefed on the joint operation but was seeing the Vanguard for the first time at operational deployment, watched the midnight blue and crimson frame descend toward the relay station with the specific, unhurried certainty of a system that knew exactly what it was doing. Amin landed the Vanguard at the station's primary transmission node. The technique was Wing Chun. Centerline targeting, continuous pressure, the chain of strikes that disrupted the node's connection architecture with the accumulated kinetic impact of precise, repeated force rather than a single overwhelming blow. Each strike landed at the specific structural point that the training sessions had identified as maximally efficient for this category of target. The node's connection signal dropped. Contact point 9 went from active to isolated. 9 is contained, Amin reported. Moving to 11, said Nisir from the ground station. Thruster optimal, no stress indicators. The Vanguard lifted and moved. Contact point 14 was where the operation's first real complication arrived. The network had anticipated the Vanguard's approach vector. 3 of the point's automated disruptors had been configured not as direct weapons, but as a coordinated misdirection system. They activated in a rotating pattern that generated false positive readings on the Vanguard's proximity sensors, creating the appearance of a threat at the target point that was not the actual threat. Amin recognized it 3 seconds in. The sensors are being spoofed at 14, he said over the family channel. I'm seeing a threat signature that isn't matching the actual output. The real disruptor is offset from the sensor reading. By how much? Amira's voice. From Sector 7, sharp and immediate. I can't calculate it from inside the cockpit while I'm managing the approach. I can, Amira said. She was already running the comparative analysis on the telemetry data coming from the Cyber Viper's extended sensors. The mismatch between the Vanguard's proximity readings and the Cyber Viper's independent sensor data gave her the exact offset within 8 seconds. 18 meters, bearing 273, she said. The actual disruptor is 18 meters northwest of your current target reading. Amin adjusted. 18 meters northwest. He found it. The disruptor at contact point 14 went offline. Good call, he said on the channel. Accurate call, Amira said. Not disagreeing with his word choice, just being precise, which was Amira's version of accepting a compliment. At contact points 7 and 12, Mary Parker was doing what the Aegis had been built to do. The 2 critical energy grid nodes were 7 miles apart along the coastline. The network had launched a coordinated energy strike, redirected power from 3 converted relay stations aimed at both points simultaneously, designed to overload the civilian grid's protective systems and create the cascade failure Cassandra had identified in the briefing. The energy strike came in waves. Not a single overwhelming burst, but a sustained building pressure that increased in intensity with each 20-second cycle. The Aegis barrier covered both points. Not because the barrier was infinitely large. It was not. But because Mary Parker understood the Aegis's barrier geometry in the way she understood everything she had ever learned to hold, completely, from the inside, she had expanded the barrier along the optimal coverage arc between the 2 points, creating a curved defensive field that protected both nodes with the same structural integrity that a single-point defense would have protected one. The training had taught her the technique. The training had also taught her where the edge of her capacity was. She was at the edge. The neural feedback from the sustained barrier at full coverage spread was significant. The same quality of intensity that the fourth training sequence had produced, but sustained rather than momentary. It required the continuous, total mental stability she had demonstrated in training, now applied across a longer duration and a higher baseload. "Grandma," Amir's voice, precisely calibrated to give her the information she needed without adding anything that would cost her processing capacity. "Barrier left arc is at 89%. The third wave will be approximately 15% stronger than the second." "I know," Mary said. Her voice was steady. Not performed steady, actually steady. The specific quality of someone who had found the mental state required and was holding it as a continuous practice rather than a momentary achievement. The third wave hit, the barrier held. The civilian grid beneath it registered the attempted intrusion on its protection sensors, noted that the intrusion had been fully deflected, and continued operating. 40 million people on the eastern seaboard did not notice, which was the entire point. "I have it," Cassandra said. The frequency pattern had cycled 3 times while she worked. She had mapped it across all 3 cycles, identified the underlying mathematical structure, and built the lock that would fix the relay's current frequency long enough to trace the source node. "Amir," she said, "I need the trace algorithm ready to run the moment I execute the lock."
"It's ready," Amir said. "Running on your mark." "Mark!" The lock engaged. The trace algorithm ran.
41 seconds. "Got it," Amir said, the specific quality of his voice when information had resolved. Still measured, still precise, but with a particular clarity beneath it. "The relay is embedded in orbital mirror cluster 7 alpha. Third mirror in the eastern array." "That's civilian infrastructure," Princess said, from her auxiliary station. Immediately, because Princess Parker tracked operational implications in real time, and that implication mattered. If Cassandra hits the relay directly with a full counter signal, it could affect the mirror's standard reflective function. "I know," Cassandra said. "I'm not hitting it directly." She was already building the counter signal architecture, not a broad spectrum disruption that would terminate the mirror's functions. Wholesale, but a precisely targeted signal that would address only the relay's operational layer, while leaving the mirror's civilian functions intact. It took 4 minutes. The Cyber Viper's emerald arrays lit across every sensor point simultaneously as the counter signal completed and deployed. In orbital mirror cluster 7 alpha, the Sigma relay's frequency lock blocked the source of coordination signal. Without the relay's organizing frequency, the distributed network could not maintain synchronization across its contact points. The active disruptors at the 9 points that had gone operational lost their coordination. The energy strikes targeting contact points 7 and 12 dropped to 0. Mary Parker let the Aegis barrier begin its recovery sequence. She let out one slow breath. The eastern seaboard's energy grid registered full operational status across all monitored points. The 3 frames descended toward the designated landing coordinates, a cleared stretch of Maryland coastline where the military's ground units were repositioning after the engagement. The tank battalion. Commander was standing outside, his vehicle when the Vanguard touched down. He had been in the military for 31 years. He had been part of 3 major deployments and had worked alongside every category of advanced weapons system the US military operated. He had never seen anything like what he had watched happen in the last 2 hours. He watched the massive midnight blue and crimson frame settle into its landing stance, watched the Aegis come down beside it, enormous, the barrier dissipating as the frame system settled into standby, watched the Cyber Viper's sensor arrays retract as it landed. The cockpit pods opened. 3 people stepped out. The commander looked at them for a moment. He walked to Armin Parker, because in any deployment, you address the operational lead first, and extended his hand. Armin received it. "I've been told your family has been protecting things for a long time," the commander said. "Yes," Armin said. The commander looked at him steadily.
"Glad you're on this side of it." Armin held the handshake for a moment. "So are we," he said.
At Sector 7, the support team was running post-engagement system checks. Rasheen Parker was moving through the frame maintenance data with the energy of someone who had been sitting at a monitoring station for 2 hours and was ready to do something with his hands. His sons were at their respective stations, completing the structural integrity checks that the deployment had generated, logging the performance data that the Pentagon's engineering team would analyze in the morning. Princess Parker had already started the preliminary after-action data package. She worked efficiently and without commentary, the specific quality of someone who understood that the most valuable thing she could do immediately after a deployment was produce accurate, organized information before the details started to blur. Amira was reviewing her own analysis of the spoofing detection at contact point 14, not because she doubted her work, but because she had identified a pattern in how the misdirection system had been constructed that suggested something about how Sigma's tactical algorithm was evolving. She wanted to document it while it was clear. Amir came to her station. He looked at what she was building. "The offset calculation," he said. "You ran it in 8 seconds. 7.4, Amira said. "I checked. That's significantly faster than the simulation benchmark." Amira didn't respond to this immediately. She was still documenting. Then, without looking up, the simulator uses synthetic data. Real deployment data has different density characteristics. It's actually cleaner in some ways. Amir considered this. "That's worth documenting for the training update." "I'm already documenting it," Amira said. A pause. "You did good work tonight," Amir said. Amira looked at him. The specific, evaluating look she gave everything, her brother included. "We did good work tonight," she said, which, from Amira Campbell, was the warmest thing she was going to say, and both of them knew it. Mary Parker was the last of the 3 pilots to complete her post-landing systems review. She sat in the Aegis's cockpit for 2 minutes after the engines went to standby, not because she was unable to move, but because she had learned, across the training sessions, that the neural link required a deliberate disengagement period, rather than an abrupt termination. You came out of the Aegis the way you came out of deep focus, gradually, intentionally, returning to ordinary consciousness rather than being pulled from it. She removed the neural headband. The amber light of the landing zone came into full, unfiltered focus. She stepped out of the cockpit. Cassandra was waiting at the base of the Aegis's pilot elevator. She had already completed her own disengagement and was standing with the quiet, interior attentiveness she brought to moments when she was tracking something she had not yet named. "The barrier held the whole time," Cassandra said, not as a question. "Yes," Mary said. "The 3rd wave was stronger than the 2nd?" "Yes," Mary said. Cassandra was quiet for a moment. Then, "I was watching your neural strain data from the Cyber Viper's sensor feed during the 3rd wave." "I know you were," Mary said. "You didn't show it." "No," Mary said, "but I felt it." She looked at her granddaughter. "Feeling something and being controlled by it are different things. The training helped with that distinction." "The training helped," Cassandra said, "but the distinction itself, that was already yours." Mary looked at her. Something moved through her expression. Not pride exactly, because pride implied surprise. And she was not surprised by Cassandra. It was the specific warmth of a grandmother who has watched her grandchild see something clearly. "Come," she said. "Your father will have the timing drill ready before any of us reach the debrief room." Cassandra almost smiled. "He won't have run it yet," she said. "We've been deployed. He'll wait until after the debrief." "He'll have it ready," Mary said. "Whether he runs it before or after is a different question." They walked toward the debrief tent together, the enormous Aegis behind them, still cooling from the engagement, its white and gold chassis catching the first grey light of the pre-dawn eastern seaboard. Prince Parker ran the debrief in 15 minutes. He identified what had worked, what had been suboptimal, and what needed to change before the next deployment. He did this without praise and without criticism, as a technical review, the way an engineer reviews a structure's performance against its design specifications. At the end, he said, "The eastern seaboard grid is operational. Sigma's relay was disrupted. The frames performed within acceptable parameters." A pause. The specific pause of Prince Parker when he was about to say something that cost him more than a technical assessment. "The family performed within acceptable parameters as well." He looked at all 12 of them. "That is a higher assessment than it sounds," he said. "We were not here 2 months ago. We are here now." He straightened. "Get the frames to maintenance. Rest! There will be another deployment. There is always another deployment." He turned toward the command vehicle. Rashim waited exactly 3 seconds after his father was out of range. "Children," he said to his sons, at a volume appropriate for the occasion, "your grandfather just said we did a good job. I want you to mark this moment." Nishim Parker, who was logging frame maintenance data on his tactical pad, said, "Logged." Nisa looked at his brother. The specific quality of not. Quite amusement moved through the 4 brothers like a current. Nisa to Nishim, to Nimir, to Shahim, visible only to anyone who had been watching them long enough to know where to look. Rashim watched it happen. "I love this family," he said. He meant it in every way a person could mean something. The Vanguard, the Aegis, and the Cyber Viper were transported back to Sector 7 as the eastern seaboard's dawn arrived properly, golden and ordinary, the specific quality of a morning that does not know what happened in the hours before it. 40 million people turned on their lights, made their morning meals, started their days. None of them knew, which was the entire point. And in the classified maintenance bays, 1,200 feet below Virginia, 3 frames received the care they needed from 12 people who understood that the next time was never very far away, and who would be ready for it when it came. End of Episode 7, Protocol 2.0. The Eastern Seaboard stands Paaka izu, Age Of Synthetic Dawnの時代 第7話 プロトコル 2.0 東海岸は立つ警告は午前3時に来た緩やかな段階的なエスカレーションではなくセクター7のすべての包尾モニターの完全な同時起動だった。キャンベル・アミラはすでに目が覚めていた。訓練が始まってからよく眠れていなかった。仕事が疲れるからではなく、 シミュレーションで処理していたデータに、休むべき時間にも心が戻り続けるパターンがあったから、シグマのネットワーク動作にパターンがあった。何日もその端を見ていた。警告が作動したとき、そのパターンが指し示していたものを聞くかに理解した。お母さんと彼女は家族の通信チャンネルに言った。静かに、見てほしいものがある。パーカープリンセスは九十秒でテクニカルステーションにいた。キャンベルアミラがフラグを立てたものを見た。それからキャンベルアミラを見た。全員を起こしてとパーカープリンセスは言った。ブリーフィングは短かった。パーカープリンスは短いブリーフィングを指示するから。式の同時侵入ベクター。ネットワークは探索していない。コミットしている。東海岸のエネルギーインフラを無理化し、沿岸フォービグリッドに開口部を作るように設計された協調攻撃だ。彼は平和を信じた。私たちはコーリを対処する。パーカープリンスはパイロットとメニター、パーカーアミン、パーカーメアリー、ブラウン・カサンドラ。3人全員が完全な戦術スーツで、3人全員がまさにこのために訓練してきて、まさにこれを受け取っている人々の特定の一致された準備を保持して、フレームが今できることを知っている。それをやれ。パーカーメアリーを見た。全員。ヴァンガードが最初に発射チューブをクリアした。このローンチと、ニュー・アレクサン、ドリアの最初のものとのエイハーセディンカナンダツータ、シャンシャンのスムーズさやスラフタの均等さだけでなく、パーカーサミンがコツクピットに持ち込んだ存在の神においても、ニューラルリンクが0%で、パイロットがそれを信頼するとき違う感じがした。カサンドラ、グリッドのデータは何がピネール？サイバーバイパーの中で、チェンバース・アメアとの3週間の共通訓練の精錬が込められた調整で、急にネットワークのアーキテクチャ深く入り込んでいたブラウン・カサンドラ。式の接触点は独立していない。移動しているプライマリリレーを中心に組織されたネットワーク内のノードだ。起動インフラに埋め込まれている。一時停止。ニューアレクサンドリアで悪用されたのと同じ起動ミラーフレームワーク。異なるミラーアレイ、同じ建築原則。リレーを見つけられる。見つけていると彼女は言った。イージスが発射チューブから現れてアンガードと並んだ。巨大でアメリカの海岸の山手前のアリガニ仕事今。パーカーメアリーの声は安定していて、白さに蘇生モードだった。エネルギーグリッドの接触電気と重茶が最も重要だ。その2つが最も高い民間インフラの集中を供給している。ネットワークが最初にそれらを孤立させると、他のものを順番に影響するカスケードが生じる。2点の間にイージスを位置させ、ネットワークが直接エネルギー攻撃を試みた場合に、両方をカバーできる十分に大きな砲撃バリアを維持する。それは重大なバリア展開だとパーカー・アミンは言った。範囲を知っているとパーカー・メアリーは言った。仕事の陳種として限界をどこで達しているか正確に知っている誰かから午前3時時期分最初の直接強戦が起きた。シグマのネットワークが物理的なコンポーネントを起動した。今回はアンドロイドではなくネットワークが全州にわたって民間インフラに埋め込んでいた病気化された自動化システム。パーカー・アミンは接種力点外主導からノードにシフトするのを戦術 HUD で目にていた。カサンドラ、先と尻がノード化している。見か見えている。周波数ロックの途中ヌーだ。あの2点を使わないで。了解。ヴァンガードはすでに働いていた。訓練が踏み出した根本的な違いは速度ではなかった。ヴァンガードは常に速かった。タイミングだった。訓練中に特定した技術起動での4分の1秒の調整が自動的になっていた。考えることではなく、体とマシンが今一つの公務として一緒にすること。パーカーにシームハリアルタイムで衝撃データを読んでいた。接触点球での作業、ウィングチュン、センターライン追記、チェーンパンチ、ノードの接続アーキテクチャをセリミで繰り返されるプレッシャーで中断させた。酒は封じ込められたとパーカー・アミンは報告した。接種力天使たちで作戦の最初の本当の複雑さが来た。センサーが中止でスプーフされている。脅威シグネチャーが見えるが実際の処理と一致していない。どのくらいずれている？キャンベル・アミラの線、急さで強い。コックピットの論からアプローチを管理しながら計算できない。私にはできるとキャンベル・アミラは言った。初期がメートル、砲撃サンドと場名で彼女は言った。実際のディスラプターは現在の標的を見取りのき、場メートル背景にある。パーカー・アミンは調整した。見つけた。接触天使子たちのディスラプターがオフラインになった。良い呼びかけだと彼は言った。正確な呼びかけだとキャンベル・アミラは言った。接触電気と銃のでパーカー・メアリー・ハイージスが作られた目的をしていた。 ネットワークは協調エネルギー攻撃を開始した。両点を同時に標的にした3つの変換リレースで、ションからの専用電力。バリアは両点をカバーした。パーカー、メアリーは2点圏の最適カバレッジアークに当てて、バリアを拡大した。単一点砲枚が1つをカバーするのと同じ構造的完全性で、両ノードを保護する曲線の砲枚フィールド。訓練が彼女を歩まで襲えた。彼女は覇者にいた。おばあちゃんとチェンバース・アメアの添え。クワスアークが89%、3番目の間には2番目よりアセクティブパーセント強くなる。分かっているとパーカー・メアリーは言った。セニゲは安定していた。演じた安定ではなく、実に安定。必要な精神状態を見つけた誰かの特定の日で保持していた。3番目の実が来た。バリアは保持した。その下の民間グリッドは完全な運用状態を登録した。東海岸の自然万人は気づかなかった。それが全ての目的だった。見つけたとブラウン・カサンドラは言った。軌道ミラークラスター、キアルファに埋め込まれている。東部アレイの3番目のミラーだ。とチェンバース・アメアは言った。それは民間インフラだとパーカー・プリンセスはすぐに言った。カサンドラがリレーに直接全面的な対信号を打つと、ミラーの標準反射機能に影響する可能性がある。直接打たない。とブラウン・カサンドラは言った。彼女はすでに対信号アーキテクチャを構築していた。ミラーの民間機能を損なうことなく、リレーの操作層のみを対象とする。四分後、サイバーバイパーのエメラルドアレイがすべてのセンサーポイントにわたって同時に点灯した。軌道ミラークラスター機アルファでシグマのリレーの周波数ロックが漏れた。磁気の接触点が同時に調整信号の損失を経験した。東海岸のエネルギー、グリッドはすべての検視点にわたって完全運用状態を登録した。3つのフレームが着地坂表に強化した。戦車大隊の地下官は自分の車両のファクトによって過酷に時間に起きたことを見にていた。31年の軍律、ヒッツの主要展開、ヴァンガードが着地するのを見えた。イージスが隣に降りてくるのを見えた。バイパーを見えた。コックピットポットが開いた。地下官はパーカー・アミンのところへ歩き、手を伸ばした。あなたの家族は長い獣を守ってきたと聞いていると、地下官は言った。はい、とパーカー・アミンは言った。この側にいてくれてよかった。私たちもとパーカー・アミンは言った。パーカー・プリンスはデブリーフを事務分で指導した。最後に、東海岸のグリッドは運用中。シグマのリレーは中断された。フレームは許容できるパラメータ内で機能した。一時停止。家族も許容できるパラメータ内で機能した。全員を目見た。それは聞こえるより高い評価だ。2ヶ月前、私たちはここにいなかった。今ここにいる。フレームをメンテナンスへ。休め。別の展開がある。常にある。彼は地下車両に向かった。パーカー・ラシームは彼が距離を取ってから3秒前言った。みんな、と彼は息子たちに言った。おじいちゃんが私たちは良い仕事をしたと言った。この瞬間を記録してほしい。パーカー・ニシームは戦術パッドにフレームメンテナンスデータを記録しながら言った。記録済み。パーカー・ニシールは胸をめ見た。抑えた楽しさがパーカー・ニシールからパーカー・ニシームへパーカー。ニミルヘ・パーカー・シャヒ。ムヘと流れた。長く目にてきた人だけに見える方法で。パーカー・ラシームはそれが起きるのを目にた。この家族が好きだと彼は言った。あらゆる意味で。ヴァンガード、イージス、サイバーバイパーはセクター7に輸送された。東海岸の山分けが適切に帰る中で、私は全万人が電気をつけた。朝の指示を作った。翌日を始めた。誰も知らなかった。それが全ての目的だった。そしてバージニア州の地下全地100フィートの記念メンテナンスベイで、3つのフレームは次回が決して遠くないことを理解していたとき、2人から必要なケアを受けた。来た時のために準備できている人から。第7話終わり、プロトコル2.0、東海岸は立つ。